this is season 2.
This is season 2.
We made it.
I'm Kyle McCann. I work here at ABL, sales director for the Northeast region. Started out as a high school English teacher in my life. Went to college pre-mortgage crisis and actually bought a house when I was in college, my first house. Oh, I'm just going to go flip 10 houses next year. That's when you get in trouble. There's always this baby step thing of maybe you should find out one if you even like owning real estate.
You've been through multiple market cycles, it sounds like. Do you keep the same mindset around your investment strategy, or do you try to anticipate the market and then change your strategies?
Meet the right people, network well, get referrals for who you're working with.
Because you don't like the Eagles too? Is that also true?
It's because I love the birds.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just want to clarify that. All right, everybody. Pleasure to be back. I was voted off the show last time, but after a lengthy lawsuit, I've returned. It's great to be back with everybody.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
I could imagine. My name is Matt Borba. I am the host again of Calculated Interest.
Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
And my name is Alyssa. I am also the host of Calculated Interest, and this is season 2.
This is season 2.
We made it.
My agent didn't get the call after season 1, so I'm isn't that weird? So I'm just glad to be back and glad to be talking with our guest that we've already talked to.
Yeah, that was sick. He
He
sits right over there.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's the kind of guy that you want to have an enchilada with and say, let's talk real estate.
It's true. It is true. I didn't realize what a in-depth background he has. He is so much more than meets the eye.
He knows it inside and out. He can sail, he can wheel, and he can deal, and he could also do a little concrete work in your basement too. So he kind of connects all those dots there.
Yeah, wonderful episode. So great.
I'd say our best one yet, and I don't just say that because I'm contractually obligated to say that every time. I do think this is our best one, and I will say that next week too.
Well, actually, I'm curious because I actually didn't review the contract. What else was in that contract?
I think a trailer. I think doves from now on when I enter the room, but we don't show that anymore due to flashing lights, and I don't want to startle the children. But it's growing claws.
I'm glad that's what you focused on in your lawsuit.
I'm all about pizzazz. I'm all about a big entrance.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are.
Do I say anything else?
I don't know. Do we say anything else? Let's get into it.
Let's get into this.
Let's do it.
Come on. Calculated Interest is powered by asset-based lending. Each episode, we sit down with investors and industry experts to break down what's actually happening in today's market and how smart investors are adapting. You've probably seen asset-based lending in places like Scotsman Guide, Housing Wire, and National Mortgage Professional. We've been doing this for over 15 years and have funded thousands of projects along the way. Let's get into today's conversation. God, Kyle, I couldn't be happier they're here today.
Thanks, Matt.
I have been writing this out in my own calendar. I've been leading up to this moment. I'm just like, me and this guy, we're about to tear it up.
We're going to vibe it out.
Do you think so, Alyssa?
Yeah, I'm excited.
You know what I always say, too, with Kyle? I mean, we have a lot of stuff that goes on in this office and a lot of people that bring out the best in others, and I think you got best hair in the office.
Thank you.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
And we got people that got hair here.
Yeah.
As a guy who used to have hair, I'm sure.
You can give out an accolade like that.
I could feel like, and now that I've officially passed the totem pole from me, I'm like.
I appreciate it, but I'm sorry for everyone else in the office.
You shouldn't be sorry. It gives them something to aspire towards.
Okay. So
if you ever feel down, just be better.
Wow. That's really inspirational.
That's our internal motto.
Is that a fortune cookie somewhere?
Yes.
Incredibly inspirational. Well, thank you for joining us. I mean, would you mind telling us a little bit about your background or a little bit about yourself?
We'd love that.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle McCann. I work here at ABL. I am the sales director for the Northeast region. About me, though, I live locally here, Collingswood, New Jersey. Grew up greater Philadelphia area. I've started out as a high school English teacher in my life. Really got into real estate over a period of time. Got wife, 2 kids, and yeah, I'm here most days.
And I'd say you're a pretty chill guy. Would you agree with that?
I guess so. Most of the time, depends who you ask.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And teaching, being that you're coming from that background, right? Like, what kind of made you think that, okay, I want to mold young minds, so I want to work in molding?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was about summers off, truthfully. But yeah, no, always enjoyed being around people. I've been a coach of sports for a while. I coached a local lacrosse team up till very recently at the high school.
Oh, nice.
Here. It's always fun to help kind of usher a new generation of people through whatever trials and tribulations they got going on. But yeah, I got into teaching mostly because I really enjoyed English as a language. I taught high school English, and what I found out is you're not always the best teacher because you like the subject matter.
Yeah.
You also have to like figure out how to teach people.
Right.
So I lasted a couple years. I taught in the Philadelphia school district. So graduated from St. Joe's University in the city, did my student teaching in the city, got a job at a high school. And a lot of the male teachers in the area, they immediately kind of pigeonholed to like disciplinarian roles. So I taught 9th grade remedial English, which means if you failed the 9th grade, you got me, Mr. McCann.
Okay. The enforcer.
So I had to put on a tough face every day.
Yeah.
So it was fun where I love the subject matter. I didn't always get to teach it because I was busy wrangling cats and keeping kids in check and all that stuff. But that often leads to quick burnout too.
Right.
So about 2 years later, I was out of the school system and into private sector.
Yeah. Demanding job, West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Northeast.
Well, okay.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
And so before we were chatting, you've been doing real estate from like the beginning since college.
Yeah. I went to college pre-mortgage crisis and actually bought a house when I was in college, my first house, which was kind of funny because they were just giving mortgages to everybody, like willy-nilly, as we learned from everything that went wrong. But I got lucky. Basically, I bought a house, rented it out to my roommates, my junior year of college. They covered my mortgage. I got to kind of grow equity, figure it out, live for free for the most part. And then once I got a job, I was able to really sock away money because I didn't have much in the way of living expense. And that helped me to really roll that into a bit of a portfolio and kind of go from there and grow.
Do you still have that house?
I don't. Probably sold that about 6-7 years ago now.
Okay. So you held it for a little bit.
I did. Older than I look.
It's the hair, Kyle. It's the hair. So when you're looking at that initial portfolio, especially when you're kind of getting started, do you think it's just kind of the way the cookies crumbled or the way the cards fell that you fell into a place that didn't need a lot of work? Or did you put in a lot of work to your initial home of like you doing renovations, you doing updates?
We did some fixing up stuff, but it was basically just like my own sweat labor. It's finish a base, man. It was ugly because I was like sitting there doing concrete with my roommates, framing out, drywalling. Everything's a little bit crooked after a couple beers,
Yeah.
But it turned into like a fun, livable basement that we finished out, add some square footage to the property. So did all right with that one. But yeah, it was a learning curve. All right, how do I do electric, right? You buy the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 electric book and then you sit there and you frame something out, run some holes, figure out how to throw some outlets.
Yeah.
You can learn some handyman skills, I guess, or by de facto you need to when you own a piece of property, which was fun.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm guessing that kind of gave you the bug. Did you end up buying more properties right away, or?
As soon as I could afford them, yeah. I mean, I've always been a pretty frugal guy, so like just socking away money and then investing it in one way or another. My parents always did real estate too, which was kind of interesting. They were never super high earners. My dad was in law enforcement. My mom was in education. But my mom having summers off, she got a real estate license and they would flip like one house a year type thing, like super.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Before that was on HGTV. So I kind of saw them, build some wealth through it and whatnot. So it was always in the back of my mind of, hey, I want to do this too. Especially when I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I knew I wasn't going to make $1 gazillion a year. So it's like, how do you supplement that one way or another? Make a couple bucks to be able to further yourself.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting with you kind of hit like a concern that I feel like a lot of people have that talk about real estate. Like even people in the space that we even work with, they're like, oh, they know the inside and out of the business, but they're like, I don't want to dip my toes in. I don't want to deal with kind of a horror story of a house. Do you think that just kind of the best thing to do when you're, buying a new home or looking to do these renovations is, like you said, just tackling it? Like, hey, you didn't know electrical when you first started. You did not, have level concrete when you're finishing up a basement, but you just started kind of do it by trial by error.
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be in that position to try and do that.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people will be on Bigger Pockets podcast, something like that. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to go flip 10 houses next year. Like, that's when you get in trouble. Like there's always this like baby step thing of, maybe you should find out one if you even like owning real estate, right? Because
Right.
there's all sorts of headaches that come with it. Um, so, buying something close to turnkey or whatnot, something with minor cosmetic, maybe something you can do yourself without hiring a general contractor. University of YouTube can teach you anything,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think there's definitely everybody wants to scale and be rich the next day type thing, and I think that's really hard to do. And there's a great way to kind of move into it easily through house hacking or one or two rental properties that might start off really mild rehab, something dated, grandma house specials, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Nice. And I guess at what point were you like, I'm going to take this seriously? Was it after teaching English or?
Yeah. So after I was teaching English, I got a job that was real estate adjacent, right? I was working for a consulting company that did third-party due diligence for commercial real estate transactions, mostly like CMBS, Fannie Freddie. We would do like property conditions assessments, environmental risk assessments, seismic risk assessments at times, but all like big commercial real estate projects. And it was really cool because I got to see how people kind of look at these things from a bigger picture of, hey, I'm going to take down a 400 unit multifamily property. Here's how we set up CapEx for it. Here's how we run our due diligence. And you watch these other people kind of do this on a big scale, and then your wheels start turning of like, well, I could probably take these really refined processes, scale it down to something like duplexes,
Right.
and see what I can implement a little bit and really wheel back the risk for myself. So I just kept kind of unit stacking as I had some money. Buy another one every time I could put enough paychecks to go for it and get another one. And I never really scaled for a couple years. And around my 30th birthday, I think I left that company and went full time into real estate. I got my license, was doing some selling, some whatnot, but it was mostly to help me find my own projects, dispo my own projects. And that's when I really started flipping for the first time. I had always been buy and hold, and then I kind of used both of them together. When you're flipping, your capital gains, your tax exposure gets like huge. So it's always nice to do some rentals too for the write-offs on that, kind of even it out. So yeah, that's really when I started to scale because I just dove in at that point. I was like, I have enough units where I can have a little bit of cash flow. If I can make some dollars doing real estate sales, let's see if I can make a business out of it.
Yeah, you really ran the gambit on that, like from where you started to just like, I want every little piece of this. Yeah. And I think you touched on this actually when we've spoken before, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook this. You mentioned kind of just like factoring in for CapEx and factoring kind of to the half-life of the materials in a home.
Yeah.
So some people that kind of just see like, hey, like this is what my income is based on rent, my mortgage is this, I'm netting this every single month. And in reality, that's not the case. Because like you've talked about before, if you're not thinking about, that boiler can go or that the roof life on that's maybe 2 more years, 3 more years.
Yeah.
So if you're not setting aside funds, you could really, walk into a hole there.
Yeah, I think especially people trying to scale, it's really tough to think about reserves because truthfully, I don't think many people can make a living off of the rent roll of just rental properties.
Yep.
Like, all right, you could have 100 units and you might be clipping $400, $500 a door type thing. But then these CapEx items pop up more in scale as you continue to scale. Roofs go, boilers go, whatever it might be. When I was on the commercial side of the due diligence thing, we used to do these things called property conditions assessments. And it was basically just a schedule of like, all right, here's how old everything is from the striping in the parking lot to the roof to the HVAC system. And what's the useful life of these things? And then you kind of map it out of what you think CapEx reserves need to be in year 6, year 5, whatever it might be. So it's really tough to live off of the cash flows of your rent because then you don't have the reserves when these things pop up.
Right.
And you always have to be really conservative about those, in my mind anyway. You don't want to, especially as you scale, find yourself in a deficit where now you're unable to pay a mortgage on something.
Yeah. Yeah. And is that also like, I know you just mentioned how you switched over to flipping as well. Is that what kind of pushed you to go that route too?
It's a quick hit on money. Like,
yeah.
You don't make money on rentals. You build long-term wealth, right? The idea is you're having somebody else pay down the equity on your property.
Right.
If you decide to live off the cash flow, you're going to get in trouble. If you can 7 years later refinance, suck equity out, that's tax-free money to you, great. Or you sell the property, you can do whatever. But the flips actually help pay the bills, right? So you can flip a house, you might make 40, 50 grand. Yeah, you're going to pay most of that back in taxes, but it's still a nice chunk for you to be able to live off of.
Yeah.
Or fund the next deal.
And what gave you the confidence, like on your I guess around your 30th birthday, to kind of go into it full time? Because it is risky. I mean,
Super risky. I figured I was young enough that I could go get a job if I failed, right?
fair.
Love that.
Which was
Love
nice.
that.
Like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back and do something else. Didn't leave my last job at like bad terms, so it was one of those like, hey guys, I'm gonna go try this. If I fail, I can always come back type thing. But yeah, luckily it worked out pretty well for a while. I was able to build a decent portfolio.
Nice. And what would you say the portfolio around that time was, like the size of that your portfolio at that time?
At what point in time?
I guess that's a good question. I guess I was thinking around your 30th when you decided to jump in, and then, yeah.
I think I probably had like 8 to 10.
Nice. Okay. So you definitely like understood the landscape enough.
Yeah. Understood the landscape. I had started to get relationships at that point with like general contractors, wholesalers, real estate agents, to the point where people started to bring me deals type thing. I was like, okay, now I actually need time to due diligence vet these, and it's really tough to do just on my weekends. Let's try and go full time with it.
And then how much more were you able to scale once you quit your W-2s?
I think the max unit count I had at one point in time was close to 60. Dispoed a lot, but yeah, that's I think where we got up to.
Nice.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is.
That's high. Do you think that like having all that background information, doing it yourself, and then you bring it into sales, and it kind of leveraged it because you understood the product inside and out, and you feel like, hey, I could speak to this from how, you're looking at it as a buyer and on the actual financing side. Do you think that kind of just helped you be as successful as you are in your role?
Yeah, I think it definitely helped out from this perspective. I can relate to the actual clients. I think I can help coach them a little bit in certain ways of people over leveraging themselves, doing things that might be a little bit silly. Like, I'd rather not win alone and preserve a relationship and have them come back and do repeat business because they're finding success and not failing in one way or another. So I think it's helped me say no to deals.
Right.
I think a lot of people starting off in like the hard money loan officer space, they want to say yes to everything, right? Like, oh, I want the next deal, working on a commission, whatever it might be. Let's go get one in. And it's a lot easier for me to say no to somebody, I think, because of that. I don't think this is going to be a great project. Let me tell you why. And then I hope that they value that and, want to come back and work with us again because we gave them some advice, tried to coach them through something.
Yeah. You could have saved them from walking into a pitfall, and you build that relationship and that trust, like you mentioned. So like, hey, I want to talk to Kyle. He knows his inside stuff. He's got good hair. What's up with
about the hair?
Yeah, and I guess in the operation sense, like from your, you essentially building like a small business, did you always feel like because you took from other businesses, you had a really smooth operations, or what are some of the things that you learned along the way?
I'm terrible at certain things. And you got to kind of know your strengths on that. I've partnered with plenty of people on deals in the past, people that are, maybe better operators than I am, whatever it might be. I like the relationship building. I like finding the deals, sourcing the deals, doing the math and the numbers on something. And then sometimes I really struggle with like, hey, let's make sure that the permitting is on time in the logical order here. And like having a partner that does that really well could be useful, so playing to my strengths on certain things.
And speaking of playing to your strengths, I know you're like, Philly born and raised, love the area, love the community. Let's just say, just talking to someone else, right? That's an investor coming into a certain space. If they're dealing in a market that's their backyard, but let's just say there's too much market saturation, inventory's too high. Would you say someone that's, kind of that's your backyard, you stay where you're comfortable, or do you feel like in a situation like that where inventory's too high, that's a good time to branch out into maybe other markets, other states possibly?
Other states is always a little scary for me. Personally, I wouldn't go do something in Colorado, right? Like, right. I don't know anybody in Colorado. I wouldn't be able to go out and check on a project in Colorado.
Yep.
I'll have a trust issue with whoever's managing that project in Colorado, right? So I've always tried to stay within like an hour and a half drive where I am physically. If you're talking about market saturation, an hour and a half drive usually gets you out of that market saturation, right?
Right.
Like if most of what I do is in South Jersey. If there was an issue in Camden County, I could go to Gloucester County. If there was an issue in Gloucester County, I go to Cumberland County. There's always close enough areas in proximity that I think there is deals to find, at least from what I've seen in the past. I've definitely pivoted geos before. Got crushed in Camden County during COVID. Basically, no one had to pay rent. There was a moratorium, and then they ran out of rescue funding for people.
Right.
Like, I had some units that I couldn't get rent for 18 months, and I also couldn't evict.
Yeah, they're just hanging out there.
Yeah. I was like, okay, great.
That's crazy.
Do I ever want to be in this county again? Let's go pivot. Let's go somewhere a little bit more agreeable.
Yeah.
Like there's been geo pivots for me, but it's never like, again, I've gone to Denver or something like that.
Right.
It's always somewhere that I can kind of understand or drive to.
You can go see the property, like you said. Yeah, exactly.
And have there been times in your career that you feel like you plateaued in terms of like units or things like that? And how have you pushed yourself through that plateau to continue to scale?
So truthfully, I think, plateau, yes, from just a bandwidth standpoint. And you kind of have to choose of like, hey, am I going to hire someone? Am I going to partner up with somebody else? Or do I just chill? And the answer for myself was kind of like chill. Like, I'm not trying to scale my portfolio any more than it is. I don't need any more stressors. Like, again, I'm not trying to live off of rental income. Certainly can't. It's just a long-term thing. It's like buying a really aggressive stock, whatever it might be. So yeah, I haven't really pushed through those because I was unwilling to, if that makes sense.
I think, I don't know. That's like a good lesson. Like, it's your life, there's choices. If you want to scale, you find a way. And if you're chilling, then
yeah, I wouldn't say that it's not a stressful business. Like, there's always things that go wrong. I mean, my weekends are occupied with dealing with whatever tenant issue, whatever might occur. Right. So I think scaling at some point, it's like you only have so much time in a day. There's only so much you can do. So you either need to put in the systems, grab the people, and dedicate yourself to that, or you just kind of top out. And I don't need a helicopter. So
Fair.
A modest man.
Yeah. Don't need a helicopter.
And with you seeing like the scale that you've had and the success that you've had in the space, do you feel like, you just mentioned kind of like your weekends being pulled in different directions based on whatever properties you have. Do you feel that it's best to be like that hands-on person where something comes up from a tenant with like, hey, Kyle, I got this going on, the garage door clicker, whatever it might be. Or do you think that it's also a good idea for growth to like have a property management company in place or have people that handle that for you?
It depends where you are in your personal life, right? So at this point, I have a property management company that handles most of my stuff. Not 100% of it. There's still like some stuff in my backyard that I can go walk over to and and say hi to the guy. But a lot of the majority of it is with a property management company. Again, just to take it off my hands. I got 2 little kids at home. I want to spend time with my family. I'm happy to pay somebody, 10%, whatever it is, to go take care of business and leave me out of it. Otherwise, I'm just like paying sewer bills and whatnot, so it's not hard.
Yeah, there's all that maintenance and upkeep that's very time consuming, but still needs to be done.
It needs to be done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I absolutely brought in property management.
Awesome.
Now, being on the lender side, is there anything like you would tell your younger self when you were investing that you feel like would have helped you scale your portfolio or maybe like helped you with any mishaps that have happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially from the ABL perspective, right? We have such an interesting credit culture. And I think it doesn't just protect us as ABL, but it protects the borrowers a lot of times. I borrowed from plenty of hard money lenders that aren't really looking at the collateral that hard outside of just like, here's an appraisal, right? We're diving into what days on market look like in an area. Is this on a double yellow line road, right? Huge thing at ABL.
Oh yeah,
like the double yellow line roads.
Bit of a stickler for that one. Yeah,
and it's kind of true, right? Because you look at an appraisal and they're going to take the value of that property and compare it to something 3 blocks off that yellow line road. And there's not going to be an adjustment for it, right?
Right.
But when you go to sell a property that's 3 blocks away in a cul-de-sac and one that's on a double yellow, and they go up at the same time, that one on the cul-de-sac is going to sell like way before the one on the yellow line. So me just going on the MLS and looking at my own comps and things like that, I think having a little bit of the credit background that I've learned here would have gotten me out of some jams that I found myself in before, of just understanding what the demographics of an area are beyond just what information I could find on the MLS, whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. No, in that visual standpoint, it's huge, right? So like location, if it's a corner house, if it's on a double yellow line, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's also that unseen kind of aspect that people kind of hit a like stumbling block with, which would be like dealing with the municipality, right? What permits does this place require? What kind of things are they going to be checking on? Maybe, you know, you're in insert random county here where they don't look at, you know, you pulling permits to replace shingles on your roof, but some places are extreme sticklers and they do. Yep. Do you recommend that someone kind of does their research before they go into these things? Absolutely. To avoid kind of just, you know, creating unnecessary problems for themselves?
Especially, you know, in suburban areas, like every little town has its own construction office.
Yep.
They're all going to be run their own way. I would highly recommend going to the local RIA, whatever it is, and like getting the people who's doing projects in those areas opinions on those construction offices. Yep. Because I've had major issues with some, and other ones are super awesome. You walk in, you can ask any question you want. They tell you what they need to be done. You just go ahead and do it, and they're thrilled, right? Other ones are like a giant black hole. There's in Philadelphia, it's like a portal. You gotta throw stuff in, you might never hear back. And then if you got to set up an appointment to go down there and talk to someone, Lord knows what occurs.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just a giant mess. So yeah, I think just that, getting the vibe check from other people who've done it before you in those areas, networking with people, you know, the general contractors that are doing those things, finding out who's easy to work with, because it saves a ton of headache, time, money.
Oh yeah.
Construction office is a real thing.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, is like hitting the boots on the ground insight, right? Because if you're going to a RIA and talking to other seasoned investors, they're going to tell you like, hey, like I think you and I were talking about this the other day, like Atlanta, Georgia, you need to pull a permit to paint the interior of your own home.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which is insane, right? And are they really going to crack down on that? Most likely not. It's probably never going to pop up as an actual issue, because you talk to a guy, hey,
how are they going to find out?
Exactly. How are they going to find out? I went from baby blue to teal, right? Mm-hmm. So I did 50, you know, fix and flips over here. It's never popped up. You're good to go. Yep. But maybe you just look online, you can be like, oh, you're going to hyper scrutinize that, might be a little nervous about it. Actually talking to people that have done it and kind of walk the walk before you is incredibly helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you love the Philadelphia market now?
I love the Philadelphia market as a whole.
Okay.
L&I in Philadelphia, I'm not a huge fan of.
Because you don't like the Eagles too? Is that also true?
It's because I love the birds.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just want to clarify that.
No, I think like anytime you run into more bureaucracy, red tape, things just get in the way, right? So it's a lot of times, and face-to-face interaction is so important for me a lot of times too. And it's just impossible to find in Philadelphia from that piece of it. But the market itself, I think there's so much opportunity, right? It's the 7th largest MSA in America. There's, you know, just a ton going on. It's a diverse group. It's a city that can only go upwards still in my mind. So I do love the area, the MSA. I think it's going to continue to improve. I think it's a great place to invest. Personally, I work here full time, and I don't have the gall to go handle Philadelphia.
I understand. And do you have any advice for Philadelphia investors? Like if you were to enter it?
Live in Philadelphia, so you can go, you know, like operate in your backyard. It's block to block, right? Like
yep.
Understand your neighborhoods, understand where you're investing. If you're from there, great. Whenever I see out-of-state investors, out-of-city investors come into Philadelphia, there's a way higher likelihood that they're going to fail, because it's a niche area. But yeah, again, it's the same as anywhere else. Meet the right people, network well, get referrals for who you're working with. Yeah, pull your permits, because you get in trouble otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like you said too, like there's some places, not everywhere, right? You could have some counties like in northern New Jersey that's the whole town is relatively, you know how to operate in, but like Philly, like block to block, Chicago is block to block. So to really just do your research and just be like, oh, you know, because I'm good on 30th Street, I'm going to be good on 31st Street. It could be totally different. Absolutely different demographics, totally different people that are looking to live on that street, and just totally different interests as a whole. So you really have to be looking at this on a granular level and not just throw blanket statements out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're in a much higher rate environment than we were just a couple years ago. And I think that, presents unique challenges, but also some opportunity, right? A lot of times if you get into a loan at, we're at 4% on a DSCR because we burned something out. Typically how you're going to make money on those things again is not through cash flow, but the next time you refinance, right? You're going to be able to refinance, pull out those tax-free dollars at some point in time. As the rate market increases, now your DSCR is basically coming down, right? For the refi. So now it makes it harder to refi at the LTV you were going to previously. And now you can't really pull out those dollars.
Right.
So now it keeps a lot of people just more locked in for a longer period of time. Obviously you don't want to get away from your 4.5% rate or whatever it is to hop into a 7% rate. But also it just doesn't make sense because you're not going to be able to pull out the same amount of equity you had before. However, I think we're going to be kind of a consistent rate environment for the while. I don't really see it going up too much higher right now. I also don't see it going back to the 4.5s on DSCR. So I think it's still an opportune time to actually buy something. There's never really a wrong time to buy if you're going to hold it for a long time. But I think it's a decent time now because I can see in that 6-7 years, we're going to have still rapid appreciation because there's, such low inventory out there. There's still a strong demand for housing. There's not enough housing starts going on. So I think values are just going to keep going up. And then 7 years from now, there's going to be plenty of room to refi, even at the same rates, to be able to pull out a ton of cash, tax-free.
Yeah. And I love that you touch on kind of just like the market improving over here, right? Because the Northeast as a whole has remained relatively strong, right? Where we've seen some other like some dips and some softening. Yeah. So just using Florida as a stark contrast, right? Do you think people should have the mindset, again, because you have done it and tried and true, they're kind of chasing like something, they're chasing a dip where they're like, okay, right now we know the prices are softening. Let me get in while it's low because I know it's going to rebound. Or do you think that kind of mindset can get you into trouble?
I think that mindset can get you in trouble. No one has the crystal ball, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't know what's going to happen next month. There's a lot of wild cards out there right now.
Yeah.
But again, there's no bad time to buy real estate if it's a long-term hold. It's always going to increase in value over a period of time. Flipping to time the market can be tough. But the beauty is you can always go into something and have multiple exit strategies, right? So your intent could be to potentially flip a property. If it's not there, you can always just burr it, go into a DSCR loan, keep it as a rental. So I think, some of the less risky plays right now are in mid-tier price point properties where it does work as a rental on the back end. Yes, you might be able to sell it for a starter home to somebody, but if it doesn't work out, it's also going to be a cash flowing rental. That doesn't always work out in luxury neighborhoods, that kind of thing. And it certainly doesn't always work out in the opposite in, C-class neighborhoods. It's probably not going to work out as a flip in plenty of places where there aren't heavy home ownership.
That's fair. And you've been through like multiple market cycles, it sounds like. How do you keep the same mindset around your investment strategy, or do you try to anticipate the market and then change your strategies based on it?
I'm not that smart, Alyssa. So I can't really anticipate much. I just try and live long enough to watch it, appreciate here. So my thought process was always to buy when I could afford it. And that's just what I chose to invest money in, was real estate, right? So buy, hold, keep it going. And if I can maximize rents on it, great. But no, I've never really tried to time anything because I don't think I'd be very good at it.
That's fair. So you're obviously crushing it as a sales leader here. What has been the evolution or transition from, being an investor to now leading and mentoring people?
Yeah. So it's been nice to take that knowledge gain from being an investor, understanding who our borrowers are, because I'm essentially one of them, right? And then bringing that to our sales force to help say, here's what these people need. Here's how they need it. Here's what they respect out of a loan officer. This is what they're looking for. It's, not always the lowest rates, not always the fastest turnaround times. It's responsiveness, it's assurance to close, it's open communication. I'd rather, as an investor, spend slightly more money on financing half the time if I just knew it was going to close and didn't have all the headaches of delays and stress of it going on. Because ultimately what I'm not worried about, or what I don't want to worry about, is my loan closing. What I want to worry about is lining up my subs, finding the next deal, actually performing on the work and not just getting one step of it completed that should flow easily with the right, outlook and preparation. So having our guys help streamline these borrowers, set the correct expectations, and really try and reduce stress off of them.
Wow. It sounds like it's working.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
And even internally and externally, what do you think is, and you kind of already said it, but I think that, just to really drive it home, what do you think is the most important thing to kind of get someone to trust the process, whether it be a borrower or even someone that you're training up and coming under your team, right? Like, what do you think that you can exemplify through your leadership to kind of get someone to buy into the product and also buy into the process that we're pitching to our borrowers?
Sure. I mean, there's some proof in the pudding, right? We do close to $1 billion a year. We've been doing this for 15 years. We found a lot of success doing it, and we do it far differently than so many other shops, right?
Yep.
So ABL does have a bit of a special sauce, and that special sauce is really just openness, right? The fact that underwriters are speaking directly to the borrowers, like unheard of at any lending institution anywhere. The fact that a loan officer can go talk to an underwriter is a conflict of interest anywhere else. And for us, it's a learning experience, right? So what I'm coaching people to do is to embrace that openness, to really learn more assets of real estate, more assets of financing by having those communications, having those conversations. And I think the buy-in comes from really understanding the total process, where it's behind a veil so many other places. And here you get to see it soup to nuts for the life cycle of the loan.
Yeah. And I think you do that really well. Again, just working with you directly and seeing how you communicate with your team. You're very inclusive into the conversation. You're like, hey, let's all come together, bring our different perspectives and see how we can make this work. So and I think when everyone sees like, oh, like you just said, like soup to nuts, or like how the bread is made, it's like, okay, I understand why this part of the department might be looking at it this way. I understand why the borrower might have that question or that concern. So it kind of gets us all to come together and like work towards a common goal and a common understanding for everybody. So I think that's at least for me, why I think,
I mean, everything's open for debate at ABL, right? Like, we operate in a shade of gray. There's no Trill, there's no RESPA. There's no check the box. It's like, what makes sense for us? What makes sense for the borrower? And sometimes we get feedback from the borrower of like, oh, maybe we should be doing this differently. And that's why I get to approach you with loan officer or whoever it might be and be like, yo, can we possibly make this change? Because here's how it would benefit a borrower. And I think we'd still be protected for XYZ reasons.
Right.
And, again, that openness, the ability for us in, servicing ops to be able to talk to sales and fix a problem for our borrowers that then we can institutionalize and across the board is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps us from being stagnant, right? It's not like, hey, well, this worked in the past, so we're not going to adjust. We're constantly open to our feedback from our borrowers, from other internal team members, because we want to produce the best product. We want to make sure that people feel comfortable and know it's coming. So I do think that you do that really well. And I do think that's what really does separate us from other people in the market.
I agree.
Oh, I love that you do.
Okay, well, I guess like maybe for a last question, if you could give one piece of advice to folks trying to enter as an investor or somebody trying to scale, what would be your advice?
For the folks trying to enter, don't get tied up on analysis paralysis. Just do a deal. Don't do a big deal, but do a deal. Learn what you're doing. Don't put yourself at incredible risk financially. Make sure you can afford that risk, but don't sit there and wait for the perfect opportunity, because you're not going to get the perfect opportunity. You're not going to get better opportunities until you have tried it, figured out what you like, make a name for yourself, start seeing more. For the more seasoned investors, to continue to scale, continue to grow your network. I think a lot of people get complacent. It's important that you continue to go to the RIA, continue to network. That's how you find the deals. That's how you find the relationships to partner with. It's how you find new capital. It's just continue to network. Don't stop.
Love that. Yeah. Love that.
Wow.
I feel like I'm there right now.
I know, me too.
All right.
Let's go to the RIA tonight.
Look at us doing the thing. Sign me up for 2 of them.
Well, thank you so much for coming and doing
Thanks
this
for having
podcast.
me.
Thank
Appreciate
you, brother.
it.
Glad to have you here.
Woo.